Namaste. I just went through a breakup. I'm a board certified practicing family doctor. And what do you do if you still love them? Is it time to let go? I'm going to explain what you can do to be the best version of yourself. I went through a breakup recently and it reminded me of a time when I was in my 20s where I was completely frantic with this anxious attachment pattern. And you can notice here how I'm starting the video not talking about somebody else. I'm not blaming them. This video has nothing to do with anybody but me and how I can accept rejection and embrace it. Well, what happened was is when I was in my late 20s, I was right away when I got something like a text message that I did not like, or a phone call, a conversation that I did not have, and I felt that she was going to break up with me, what I would do is I would right away think about texting an ex. I would right away think about going online, maybe going on some date with an ex of mine, or texting them or calling them, but right away though, and I would do that not with the intention of getting back with them, but in my mind, there was some type of revenge, some type of vengeful behavior. And, I still loved her, right, when I was in my late 20s. And I thought that we were meant to be. But I kept telling myself that we needed space, even though we didn't. I would say things that I didn't mean. I would try to placate. I would try to people please. And I would just try to keep them around because I thought that that was it. I didn't realize that it's not about anybody else but me. That's what I wish I knew. I wish somebody had told me, look, don't worry about anybody else. Just focus on yourself, write about it all the time, and do it all day long, all the time. Well, I'm going to read on my phone because I'm here in the woods. Instead of drinking, drugging, eating bad, I'm in the woods with my dog here. Let's see, Swarna. And I'm in the woods writing, and I'll show you guys kind of what I'm up to. And here we go. We're going to go over the definition of emotional obsession after a breakup and if you still think that you love them. Often, a trauma response rooted in anxious attachment or unresolved grief results in emotional obsession. So as an example, like growing up, I had a very traumatic upbringing. My dad abused me. I was in CPS, Child Protective Services, Adult Protective Services, the Juneau Police. I was born in Juneau, Seattle Police. All the time, we had something or another going on in our homes. And that type of trauma that's rooted when you're younger can really manifest when you get older in these attachment patterns that you don't even recognize because you're so mindless to the behavior. You're not mindful, you're mindless. And one of the biggest mindless behaviors is talking to a bunch of people. And that's not what I do after a breakup. I do not do that anymore because I've resolved this anxious attachment pattern. Your brain stays bonded even when the relationship ends. It's called object constancy disruption, or even what people may call it a trauma bond. You replay the best parts and ignore the truth of what really broke you. You'll still say we love each other, but it becomes some fantasy and it blocks actual healing. So if this person doesn't want to be with you anymore and she leaves you, then what you do sometimes is you will go online, try to find another date, or you have somebody in your back pocket that you might want to call, or you think that they're not meant to be, or you call a friend that will give you like some of the things that you want to hear or say nice things to you, which aren't bad things, but you're not going to be the next best version of yourself. Here's what I'm doing right now is I'm in the woods and I'm doing writing. And what that does is this is mind hygiene where you write and medical evidence supports it. And I'll show you guys some more of these things. And medical evidence also supports that a 2005 study in behavior research and therapy found rumination increases emotional pain and worsens anxiety and depression. Breakups cause dopamine withdrawal. Your brain reacts like it's losing a drug. And then you go to other sources and you try to overcome your thoughts, control your mind, deal with things. What is coping strategies? What is trying to control your mind? What is trying to be strong? What is trying to be positive? What is being negative? Those are all things where you having dopamine withdrawal. Instead of just flat out writing about what can I do to be the next best version of myself? How can I be the prize? What do I need to do in the next second to feel better? Let me pray. Let me sit down. Let me talk to myself. Let me write. But you got to write. You can't talk. And when you start talking to other people, this just becomes even more emotional. And emotional pain activates the amygdala, which intensifies fear and memory loops. You're not weak. Your brain is wired to bond and panic when it's broken. Oh my God. But what you got to do is you got to put these rejection toolkits in place way before you even get into a relationship. And that's what I did. I was single for 4 years after my divorce. God bless my ex-wife. If she's watching, all this content is because of her. She's such a good person, and I wish her the best. And you know, if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be here. So I really appreciate her. And what happened is that during that time with her, I had all of these problems, right? And the trauma bond was towards my dad. My mom was gone. You know, I was in juvenile detention when I was younger, and I didn't accept that. I hated myself when I was younger, and I tried to fix that by drinking, smoking, lying, doing all kinds of things that were not within my core values. At least that's what I pretended. But what happens is that you experience these things by yourself. And you know, I went to cognitive behavioral therapy, dialectical behavioral therapy, eye movement desensitization, reprocessing therapy. And what all of these things did was that's not what helped me. What did was the intense, regular, daily writing. And you know, for many years I rapped, and I still do rap, but I haven't been doing it for maybe like a year. And when you rap, nothing ever feels good enough. And you just keep writing, 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 writing. And that saved my life. And you know, when it does come to writing all of these things, that's when you can really like know what's up, right? When you write something, you know what you're thinking. And that's how mind hygiene really helped me heal. And when you start writing, you just write for 1 second and you see what you can do to accept your mind. Studies show that you're 42% more likely to reach your goals when you write them down. But here the goal would not be feeling better. It will be a system. And the biggest thing here that I'm going to impress to you guys who are younger, who are in your 20s, is that you got to be single. After you break up with somebody, you got to be single, sometimes for weeks, months to years. Michael Jordan's trainer says this. I can't remember his name. He also trained Kobe Bryant, and he also trained Dwayne Wade. And he says that when you lose, you stay down, and then you stay down for a minute. In my case, a second, and then a minute, and then an hour, and then a year, and then 5 years. And then when you get up, you're winning over and over and over again. But here's the thing about this mind hygiene stuff, or anything that you do, is it doesn't work. What do you mean? Why am I telling you this? It does not work all the time. You need to know what you did to get where you are. And just because it worked for me doesn't mean it's going to work for you. But if whatever you did yesterday didn't work, you might as well try this. With that said, what I would suggest is that you start writing for 1 second. There will be a link in the description below to a mind hygiene PDF that you can follow along. And what I wanted to say is that as you're doing these mind hygiene writings, you have to understand that rational emotive behavioral therapy helps you challenge irrational beliefs formed in childhood. So with these attachment patterns that I had because my mom was gone when I was 7 and I didn't know her till I was 33, except in between for a couple of years when I was in juvenile detention. But that attachment pattern must have played a big role in my relationships. And I was single for 4 years. I was in a relationship for 2 years, great relationship after that. And then I was single for another year, relationship for 2 years. And now I've been single for almost about 8 months, but I got into a relationship for a few months now, which was, I mean, it wasn't a bad thing, but you know, some of these techniques have helped me. Being single is the main thing that will help you challenge these beliefs, because if you're constantly talking to somebody, you know, trying to ask people out all the time, you know, afraid to be alone, you know, feel like you're going to be abandoned, you're not good enough, well, then that's what you're going to live through for the rest of your life. You probably got to stay single. I think everybody with attachment patterns and anxious attachment or disorganized attachment, and any problem you think, you probably got to be single for several years. Otherwise, you're just confused. You're just dependent on somebody else for validation. You don't know what you're thinking. I mean, that sounds like it sucks. So what I would say to you is that some of these things will help you rewire your brain. Continue to do what you can. Inspire from this video. Drop a comment. See what you inspired from here. And if you're still stuck at 30, watch the next video, which is why you're attracting the same person over and over. And I explain repetition compulsion in the next video. And accepting your own anxious attachment, the breakup that finally woke me up, is what we're going to talk about next.